Hey guys, it's Karalynn. Welcome back to the podcast. And today we're going to talk about all things insurance. What insurance you need to have, how it works, how you want to get insurance from your subs if you're using them, what it actually looks like in practice, right? So I deal with clients all day long who have insurance claims, or how can they get their insurance involved. And so I'm going to break through like what you should have and how it works. Okay, so if you are in construction, you should have one, absolutely, maybe two policies. One is your GL policy, which stands for general liability, right? That's the general policy that covers your business. If you have employees, you need workers' comp as well. Even though, like in Texas, it's not technically required, but you can be fined if somebody gets hurt and you don't have it. So it's best to just have it. And in the construction industry, workers' comp will be expensive because you're doing a more dangerous job than an office job. But those are the two types you absolutely need. So let's talk about your GL policy. So the first thing to understand is that there is no insurance that's going to cover bad work, right? If you go out and install something incorrectly and mess it up, there's no insurance that's going to pay for that. What insurance will cover is the result of bad work, all right? So say you install some plumbing, the pipe, actually I had this just happen to a client. He was installing a sewer line and somebody left one of the test balls in the sewer line and it backed up into the house, right? So the insurance company is not going to cover the defect with leaving the ball in the sewer line, but they did cover all the damage that was caused to the property, right? That's what GL is for, right? That's what your general liability is for, is to cover the result of bad work. But if you're getting sued for defective work, generally your GL policy will not cover it. But lawyers are smart, right? And so what most lawyers do when they send out the demand letter or when they file a lawsuit, they include a claim for negligence, which means, yes, it's bad work, but it wasn't intentional. And negligence will pick up your GL. Now, it'll pick it up for a defense. Not usually. If there's any judgment taken against you, the insurance company will not pay, right? But they'll pay for your defense on a negligence claim. So most attorneys in the construction industry will include a claim for negligence in their demand letter and in their lawsuit against you, right? To trigger insurance coverage. Okay, so you get a demand letter, you get a lawsuit, you get sued, and it includes a claim for negligence. There's a couple of things you need to consider before filing on your insurance. First thing is they will assign you a defense attorney. You don't get to pick your own because they have negotiated rates. Unfortunately, I do not do insurance defense work because the rates are too low. And so they have a bunch of attorneys they have on retainer that work at negotiated rates that are much less than a normal attorney. The second thing contractors have a really hard time understanding is that it doesn't matter if you're right. The insurance company is going to pay them, right? Even if you have all of the evidence in the world to prove that you're right, the insurance company is in the job of managing risk. It is way more risky for them to go to trial, even if you can prove you're right, than to pay the other side something and settle the case. So it doesn't matter if you're right, and you have no control over what they do, right? When you file the claim under your policy, they get to make the decision on how much and when to pay, right? They'll probably just let you know that they wrote a check, which then your insurance premiums are going to go up, right? So know that going in. You can have all the evidence, you can give it to them. Sometimes they might use that to mitigate the amount that they're going to pay, but generally the insurance company is going to write a check sooner than later to settle the claim and get the case over with.
Not getting paid on a job you already completed? Well, that's where we come in. At the Karalynn Law Firm, our lien and collection department helps you get paid fast and the right way. You did the work, you deserve to get paid. We help you take the right legal steps by filing liens and collecting the money that's owed. Contact us at 713-715-7334, or you can visit our website at www.thekrominslawfirm.com.
Again, it does not matter if you're right. You do not get to make that claim. So they're going to manage that risk. They're going to file the claim. So these are things you need to know before you turn it over to your GL, right? And then your rates will go up. I don't know by how much. It depends on how much they pay and how many claims you've had in the past. So think about it. If it's a small claim, if somebody's asking for 10 grand, you might just pay them because it's going to cost you more in the long run. And the insurance company's probably just going to pay them. So, thoughts to consider when you get a demand letter, when you get a lawsuit. what is it about? How much is it? And a lot of the times it's really hard in those situations, especially when you're right, to make the right business decision. I mean, I'll tell you as a lawyer, I like people who want to be right because they'll take their money all day long because that's what it's going to take to prove that you're right. It's not the best business decision, right? You let your pride get in the way of being right instead of it being over, right? There is some high points for the case being over. I mean, can you imagine spending the next 2 years talking to your lawyers, going through documents, producing documents, having your deposition taken, all through this whole time period? You don't know how it's going to end. There's a lot of stress involved in that. And it's stressful on you. It's stressful on your company. There's a limit that you would pay people just to go away and not have to deal with all that. So if you have a demand letter or something, obviously you need to respond. I'm not saying you have to pay them everything that they want. Most states have a process where if you get a defect letter or something like that, the homeowner and residential projects can't just sue you. They have to go through a process. If they don't, they could limit their own damages. That's called RECLA in Texas. It's also available in other states. Another general rule to know about insurance is that only the insured can file a claim. All right. So like if you're on a job and something happens and you did the work, obviously you can file a claim on your insurance, right? But how does that work? What does that look like when you're working with subs? So everybody knows to get a certificate of insurance for somebody who's working under you, right? But it really doesn't mean anything unless you're added as additionally insured. And here's why. So say I had this happen. The sub was working on in a wine cellar in a brand new house, accidentally tripped the sprinkler system, and there was nobody there to turn it off all weekend and flooded the whole new entire house, right? In that case, my client was added as a sub, additionally insured on the sub's insurance. So my client, who was the general contractor, could file a claim on the sub's insurance because he was additionally insured. If he was not added as additionally insured, he would have had to make sure the sub filed the claim. And if the sub didn't file the claim, then he would have to file it on his own insurance, right? So yes, getting a certificate of insurance is good, but it's not really anything. If something happens, you need to be added as additionally insured. So if you're working with subs, get a subcontract and get added as additionally insured. Another reason why subcontracts are important, not only the additionally insured. This happens all of the time, guys. If you're using subs and you don't have subcontracts, there's two major risks. Number one, if one of the subs guys gets hurt and there's no contract, 9 out of 10 times they'll try to claim that they were working for you or through you and you're responsible for the damages. And not only that, they might try to sue your client, either the property owner, to get paid for their damages. And a subcontract will stop that, right? It will show that they were truly a sub. You're not responsible for their workers. They were supposed to have their own workers' comp. It will end the liability, right? And so that's hugely important. Another thing is if you have your own workers' comp for your employees, as you know, that they'll do an audit every year. And every contractor or person that you pay, they will classify as an employee unless you have a subcontract agreement. So they do the audit, they go through your books, they're like, oh, here's everybody's paid. His increased premium is another $80,000, right? And unless you can prove those other people that are on the books are not employees, but they're subcontractors with a subcontract, you'll have to pay that increased insurance premium, right? So these are just some tips and tricks of the type of insurance you need as a contractor, how it works in practice, and how to protect yourself, and knowing what these situations look like when you go into them. All right, guys, reach out if you have any questions. Thanks.